Hi, I'm Reba from the Mystery Box Show. After every live stream, we invite all of our storytellers and audience members to participate and engage in a virtual after party. This last July, the conversation was so fascinating and engaging that we wanted to share that with all of you. We acknowledge that the sound quality isn't the best, but we've cleaned it up pretty well and we think it's worth checking out. So please enjoy this virtual after party with Catalina Ritzinger, Tofer Clark, Vico Ortiz, Jason Veasey, our production assistant, Nicole Perkins, my co-producer and co-host, Scheur, and I'm Reba Sparrow. Enjoy. All right, everyone. Amazing job. You did it. Woo. Okay, you can go ahead and unmute yourselves.
So wait, can I go get some wine really? Can I get some wine really quick?
Go get the wine. Of course. And Tofer, did you bring one of your devices to share with us?
I brought 3.
Oh my gosh, show and tell, please.
Let's begin.
How many penises do you have?
Okay, so the one from Switzerland, the first one I ordered, that I drove to an hour to come and get, the custom color and everything. This is the ring that goes around your scrotum, testes, and penis go through here. Once you have that on, the best thing to do is add some lube in here. And then this is the sheath or the cage. It slides into place, and I probably won't find the right key. You have a key to slide in, and that's not the right one. You can unlock it and lock it.
Wait, Tofer, I have a question.
Wait,
hold on, slow down.
Have you ever had an incident where you can't find the right key to let yourself out?
That was going to be my question.
Not as of yet, because these keys, all of them come with two keys. One lock, 2 keys.
Uh-huh.
So this is kept upstairs in the bedroom, but then I keep the spares in my truck. So just in case. But you can get these off. I've actually seen some stuff on FetLife where a guy was not able to get his off, and his was made of metal versus this is bioresin. His was made of metal, and they had pictures of him using, I forget the name of the tool, but he had to cut the sucker off.
Does everyone Does everyone know what FetLife is? I know maybe some folks don't. It's basically like a Facebook for kinky people. So it's another social media platform.
I thought this whole time since we know each other you were saying that line, so I thought you were talking about a veterans association.
No, F-E-T,
like fetish.
Yeah,
can I ask for a question?
It is like a Facebook for kinksters. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Jason, what's your question?
So
Yes, I have a question for you, Tofer. In terms of logistics, and forgive me if I'm assuming I'm not crossing a boundary, are these one size fits all? And if that is the case, I'm assuming that the chastity thing is for when you're not aroused, and as part of the excitement, making sure that you don't get aroused, because if you do get aroused, that becomes a fit problem.
Okay, that
makes sense?
Yes, it does make sense. That's sort of multifaceted. They do make different sizes. This is called the Nano. I'm not exactly well endowed. This one is, let's see the difference.
Yes,
the black one is called the Nub.
Okay.
So, the head of the penis is in here, so the shaft is basically getting pushed back even more.
So you put it on while you're flaccid. Is that what you're asking, Jason? Like you put it on while you're...
Well, I'm assuming that you're putting it on flaccid, but I'm wondering because everyone's different when they become erect or not, particularly with the nub, whether you're upsized or not, is also the appeal that the more you get aroused, the more of a problem it could become with the fit.
Yes. Okay. Because with the nub, what happens for me is the erection is sort of inside the body. And I know it's there. And it's maddening the fact that I can't touch it or feel it or anything. But that's part of it. To me, sex is like 90% brain. Brain is the biggest sex organ. This is the next size up. And when I get an erection with this, it kind of comes out the side. There's another size up from this. I think there's 2 more sizes up from this, maybe 3. But yes, you can order what size is going to fit you. You can pick the size ring that you want based on how thick your junk is and everything.
Sure.
And different companies have different ways of fitting. There's different ones. I prefer this one out of Switzerland because there's so many different ways. And I even mix and match. I'll use a black ring and put the, Halloween time, or actually Locktober, if anybody's heard of Locktober. That's where you lock up for the entire month.
What the fuck? Well, I'm like locked up in quarantine. I've never been this calm. I don't know. I feel like I've absolved all the sins I have acquired throughout my time. This sounds
You're a better man than me, Tofer, because I can't and I won't.
Wait, hold on, Tofer. So you showed
like quickie.
Sorry, Tofer, you showed a ring, and it seemed like a separate piece. Is the ring for your balls? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
Is it a
balls
cock
and
ring
scrotum go through here.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get your balls and scrotum through here, you take your penis, slide it through there.
Whoa.
And then you want to get some lube in there and rotate it around. Then after that, you lube up the inside of the tube.
Okay.
The tube goes over your penis and, well, like that, locks into place.
Okay.
So now, that's why it's called the ball trap, because your balls are now trapped here. And then you lock. So, wrong way. Lock, and you're stuck there.
Wow.
I got this one because in North Carolina, you have to wear blaze orange to go hunting. So when I go hunting naked, I'm covered.
Learn something new every day.
Every day.
Tofer, I was literally thinking of like medieval, like iron, like massive lock and key. Like, I don't know what, like, clearly, this is very new to me, but wow, it's so modern and cute.
Yeah. Does anybody else? I can't remember, Tofer, if I
Cute.
said this to you, if I just said it to Eric. When I think about chastity belts, I think of Robin Hood Men in Tights. Were you? Like Maid Marian has this huge contraption, these like granny panties. Yeah. That's what I think about.
There's a couple companies that currently make those, and they're pretty high tech. They're also high dollar. I think they're like $3,000.
Wow.
I mean, that's just heavy, I'm sure.
What?
There's
How much?
one that is for sale that I've seen in Dubai that is diamond encrusted, and I think it's like $100,000 or something like that.
That's what I would require.
Same. Yeah, bedazzled all the way.
Bedazzled.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, I would. I'm not paying $100,000, but I'll put some sparklies on these.
It's almost like the chastity. It's almost, I would put it on the same umbrella as like discipline, edging, or maybe not even active edging, but like the discipline of having to be aware of your penis. Because I think the thing that's so interesting about your story is that, yes, most men on the planet are trained. We know that we have a penis, but being aware of your penis is something that is not in our conscious as men. To be aware, it's almost almost like when it's taken away, we're finally aware of it.
Mm-hmm. It's so exciting to know that it's locked. I can't touch it unless I unlock. And it just magnifies it. And you said one of the key words that a lot of guys in male chastity will participate in, and that is edging. I don't allow myself full orgasms. Usually I'll do a ruined orgasm, if y'all know what that is. That's basically right when you get to the point you stop. So that way I'm still keeping my prostate healthy, but I'm not having full release. And what it does is there's a huge, huge benefit for your partner in the relationship. For me, a woman, because if I can't screw, what am I going to focus on? I'm going to focus on her. Whenever I was in chastity with my wife, I was, so focused on her, and, my oral sex skills got pretty darn good. As I was told.
Get it, Tofer. Well done.
And then I paid more attention to her, because if you really think about sex between man and woman, usually the time is directly related to the time he gets erect till the time he ejaculates.
Sure.
After that, generally you're done. With this, you're not. It can go on for weeks, and it's fantastic.
Well, speaking of a time frame, one person did specifically ask how long you typically wear it at a time.
With these, I wear them 3 days, and then I wash. And by washing, I get into the shower, and I use Dawn dishwashing detergent liquid, because it's really good for cutting through the lube that I use, which is a baby oil gel with cocoa. And I get in the shower, take my shower, and then at the very end, I unlock, and I do everything I can to not let the water hit my penis, because I don't want that sensation. And sometimes when the water does hit my penis, it's like a freaking electrical shock going through my body. Like, holy crap, that feels good. Any guy who's listening, thinking about that, I mean, a spray of water on your penis is like, holy crap, that is fantastic. And that's what I do. So 3 days, I will clean, but I've gone 2-3 weeks locked up with maybe an edging once, but clean. You have to be clean.
Okay, wait. 3 days in chastity. How do you pee?
These come with, there's a hole at the end.
Oh.
Okay.
So you want to line up your urethra with that hole. And in some cases, it works. Other times, you're like a sprinkler on the 4th of July. So you have to be careful.
Oh, shit.
But I have a thing I was going to say, based on what you were saying, and Jason, sort of you as well. It's interesting, and I don't know the history of things too much, but I feel like there was a turning point, because it used to be a point of shame for women to have any kind of sex toy. And I'm sure, for men, so basically everybody to have sex toys. It was basically an admission that I can't get laid on my own. And at some point, it became almost empowering for women to have sex toys, and no longer a point of shame. But Jason, you're right that for, and I apologize again, what I mean is vagina havers, not women specifically, but
sure.
but for penis havers, that shame is still there. Like, I know that should I mention other companies' names? We've all heard of Fleshlight and things like that, or even the Tenga eggs. But there's this feeling that like that men masturbating is ew, gross. Ugh. Women masturbating, oh, that's like sexy and heavenly and lovely. But gosh, the whole masturbation positive movement can do a lot more to bring attention. I feel like I'm stumbling over my words, and I apologize for that.
No, don't apologize for that.
Not to, Eric. We get it. We know what you're talking about. It's totally true. And I completely agree with the whole, like, masturbation in general has been so stigmatized in such, like, a negative and dirty way. Even for myself, like, even saying masturbation for a long time was like, oh, shit, like, that's really private and personal. And now I'm, like, on my Instagram, like, yo, did you masturbate today? Like, I just feel like it's really important to, like, we all have the right to our pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, whether you're a vulva haver, whether you're a penis haver, whether you're a different, you know, type of genitalia haver, everyone, you know, everyone deserves pleasure, and we're not, you know, not.
Well, I
shame out, you know.
Yeah, I feel like, especially, I want to clarify something. When we say people have a penis, I'm specifically referring to those people who have a penis that identify as binary, heterosexual, straight men.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
Because the thing about it, which I thought was, again, I hate to harp on it, but that was so brilliant about Tofer's testimony, is as a binary penis owner, right? We're gonna say that our sexuality is actually we lack ownership, and particularly y'all straights. You know, we are told about the virility of our penis. We are told about the power of the penis. We are told about what we should expect with that. But in terms of actually really figuring it out and coming to a discovery about the divinity of what you have between your legs, it's a long time coming, particularly for binary straight men. You know, I feel like I'm even more advanced than my straight counterpoints in general, and even still I have things to learn in terms of what I have to release, what I can grab onto, what's coming from within, and what's coming from society. So hearing Tofer talk about his choice to follow his gut and how that led to him being a better partner sexually, and I would imagine as a person in general, maybe it's enhanced listening and paying attention and other aspects of your life, to hear this straight man who has a penis talk about how he learned a lot from a choice that he made, and a choice that he made in terms of taking ownership over his own sexuality, what his penis meant to him. It's very cool, and I think fascinating and interesting.
Yeah,
I've noticed it makes me less selfish. Because before, you know, it was all about me. How many women I could, you know, back whenever I was a teenager, what all I could do, I was selfish. I didn't care about their pleasure or anything. But now it took that selfishness away, and I try to take ownership of I'm losing my words too, Eric. I'm not explaining it well.
I think something that you touched on, Jason, is that the message that I'm receiving as a woman, it's interesting because, you know, going back to the whole masturbation thing, and that, like what Eric was saying, like it's gross for men to do, or cis binary men to do that. I think there's been such a stigma placed on cis men, cis hetero binary men, that their sexuality is aggressive and predatory. And that's the message I receive anyway. I don't think anyone was actually saying that, but so I think to have been told that in like a society, in like a big picture society kind of way, and then coming to terms, and then having to come to terms with like, wait, I'm an individual, but still acknowledging it's so complicated, I guess is what I'm saying, because you don't want to ignore privilege, and you don't want to ignore
statistically straight cis hetero men do tend, I believe, I don't have the research in front of me, but do tend to be the sexual predators that are known about. And I'm saying that as if there's like a huge other demographic that's not known about. I think those numbers are there that say like, yeah, if there is a sexual predator, if there is somebody who is committing sexual assault, chances are it's going to be a straight hetero man. Right. So there's precedent to look at, and it's difficult to divorce that from the individuality.
And I'll say something maybe controversial, just a thought that came into my head as I hope that we're all friends here, us and our hundreds of friends that are watching, that I wonder how different that would be if there was more sex positivity earlier on, like how much sexual aggression came about because of repression and shame and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, not just sex positivity, but also like less gender normativity. You know, like a lot of the gender like normative situation goes into that like immediate divide the second you're born. And the second you're born, you're assigned gender at birth based on your genitalia. And then it goes into like just complete two split ways, right? Which to some people it really works out. But if we were more comfortable with like talking about sexuality and gender in like a very just like open way, we wouldn't have to be like having to backtrack, like, wait, do I have to stop because of what society has been telling me to for like the longest time? Or is this something that I've like had to like learn?
Sure.
And I'll learn and relearn again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it goes both ways, both with like sexuality and gender. Like if we were born just like humans and just like we're like, you know, go, you know, whether we're like born in like, oh, blue and pink, and it's just it will go all ways.
Yeah.
If I could say for anybody listening, and Vico, Reba mentioned in your intro that we first heard you on the Gender Reveal podcast, and for anybody listening, it's a fantastic podcast hosted by Tuck Woodstock, who says that the podcast is all about trying to figure out what the hell gender is, and Tuck always ends. Tuck's a fantastic interviewer and gets great guests. And Tuck always ends the interviews with the question, what do you see as the future of gender? And so many people have so many different visions for what that is, but it's so much more than at least me as a cis binary identifying person has even envisioned. So to be able to be open up to the idea of gender being presented or erased or performed in different ways in the future depending on who's talking about it. And Vico, I think that goes a lot to what you're saying, is like finding ways to erase that or address those topics earlier in life so it just becomes normalized and not something that you have to unlearn and then retrain. And anyway,
it just comes with so much expectation. That's essentially it. You know, it just like it feels like that it comes with so much expectation, and then like it's so much noise that you have to like learn to like put that noise down and be like, who am I? Like really, like who am I without all the expectations that society has assigned to me the second I was born? And that can reflect it in like job, hobbies, sex, you know, everything. So yeah. I mean, that's just my POV on it. So
Yeah.
if I was born without being like, you must love like glitter and princesses and Barbies and all that shenanigans, like it would have taken probably less of time for me to be like, oh, interesting.
As opposed to you could do that, you must love this, but you also can also love these things as well too.
Yeah, like just like here's the options versus like giving me like you must only know this, you know.
Well, I think it's crazy. You know, like this whole conversation in this section of the conversation. I mean, that book, The Feminine Mystique, right? Mm-hmm. Which in itself also can be a little bit dated, but when you really think about it, there's also so much mystique. And when I say mystique about a masculine mystique, I truly believe that the secrets or questions that women have about, or humanity has about divine femininity and feminine energy and what it means to be a woman, those are questions because of oppression, right? Mm-hmm. There are also questions about divine masculinity, what it means to be a man, what it means for which we all inherently have in all of us, feminine, masculine energy. But those questions are not because of oppression, they're because of assumption and being put on a pedestal, and also a narrative. So a lot of men out there, there's more information about what it is to be a man, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. So you have a lot of men or people who identify as men who've been receiving information and regurgitating information as men, but have no idea what it means to them personally as an individual, what it means to be a man, or to inhabit the masculine energy for themselves. Does that make any sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. To me, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and when it comes to sexuality, there were so many men out there who also don't know what they're doing or don't know anything about their penises or anything about their sexual beings because they are told they're, you know, the narratives from porn or Mad Men or John Wayne or whatever is saying boom, boom, boom. And then they're walking through life not having any sort of scope about how they actually feel about their own sexuality.
Yeah.
Straight, gay, non-binary, pansexual, whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if this runs in line with what you're talking about. I grew up in a unique household. My mom was German, and my parents were very open. Nudity, sex, it was all open. And my mom had a brother who was gay. And he was with a guy who was fantastic. So I got to see, growing up, a heterosexual relationship that was fantastic. And I got to see a gay relationship that was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And something my mom kind of drilled into me was, your penis does not make you a man. Sure. That's not what your penis is about. And it just, she made me understand that was not important. I asked her one time, I said, hey, can I get a new car? And she said, why? I said, well, it's got a stick. You being a stupid teenager. I said, well, it's got a stick shift. And, you know, I want something to do with my hand. And she looked at me and she said, well, jack off. and that's the penis is not important. It doesn't make the man. Mm-hmm.
Mom,
and,
your mom, no.
Yeah.
Your mom's cool.
So I've had a lot of time to be very introspective when people are asking me questions about, like, you're so open about sex and talking about stuff and whatever. And I was like, you know, it's because I was a kid in Germany and, like, everything is just so sex positive and normalized. And anyway, all that to say, like, sex is just normal. I don't think we're, like, spearheading anything. It's just normal for me. That's how I feel. And so, like, with you and your parents and your upbringing, curious, like, I don't think I've ever asked you this as a friend, so I'm asking you now in front of lots of people. How has that, like, affected your sexuality or, like, openness about it or not openness about it? I'm not sure.
So it's really, like, it's interesting because my mom's from Argentina, and she was like, went to school with nuns and shit, like real strict shit. Like, I mean, I grew up Catholic. I did, you know, the baptism, first communion, confirmation, and then I kind of grew up and was like, it's not for me. And my dad is Austrian, and I was born in Austria. And it's, you know, I just remember going to Austria as like a teenager, and like in their like not kids magazines, like for their teens, you know, like say 17 magazine in Austria, which is just an example. In the centerfold, they have these, like, for every issue they have binary, man and woman, both sides, and they're both naked completely, and it's a photograph of both of them, and then it says like different things about them, like fun facts about these people. And I remember my sisters and I were in these stores, like in one, you know, bookstores, and like we grabbed this magazine and we're like, holy shit, that's a penis! Like, oh my god! But like, at the same time, you know, growing up with my mom, like, I had both sides. You know, I had the sex positive side, and I had the more conservative side about sex. And actually, my dad is the one who gave me the talk, which, now that I'm older, seems kind of weird. But he did it his way and went for a hike in the forest, and he brought some books. And it's funny, it was actually the first place where I learned about masturbation. He told me about, he was like, hey, like, you know, sometimes you, like, play with yourself, and, like, that's, like, normal. And I was like, oh, Dad, I play with myself all the time. Josie sometimes doesn't want to play, and so I got the Barbies by myself, and then we play, and then it's just me, and I make up the stories, and I'm really good at playing with myself. And my dad was like, not quite, but, you know, so it was really interesting. It was always just this really, like, with my dad, I felt like we could talk about it, but it was also, like, weird. Like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Right.
And my mom attached a lot of emotion towards everything, which I blame her a lot for how I act as a human now every time I have a hookup. Because she was like, oh, you know, you're supposed to only share these experiences with people that you love, and you want to, you know, share your body with somebody who respects you, which, yes,
and.
But also, I don't want to fucking catch feelings every fucking time and then get screwed over. Like, example, Exhibit A, right now. So I'm kind of like, okay, so now I attach feelings to every human who I let inside my body. And so I have that. And then also, you know, part of my story was, at the beginning, was with Riley, and what I didn't tell you guys is that I was grounded for life, because my parents found me. My mom walked in on me and Riley. And so...
I'm so sorry to hear that you're still grounded.
My dad was like, you know, my mom said, oh my God, like, you know, I wouldn't be this mad if you had been talking about Riley for a while now and telling me that you had a crush on him, but this was just out of the blue. And my dad was like, yeah, I did stupid shit too when I was a kid, but I never got caught. And so, like, I had the, like, two really different sides.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I find that, like, there's no wrong answer here, and I'm kind of associating, Vico, maybe you can speak better to this, but I'm not comparing the two, and also I could be very wrong, but, like, I'm a person who's very sex positive, I guess. I don't even like that term, because it's just normal, just sex is just normal, whatever. But, so I don't like labels in general.
It's a term until we don't have to use it anymore.
Right, yeah. And, I'm also a person who's like, I'm not going to fuck you unless I really, really like you. Like, I have to have good, deep emotions for you in a romantic way also. I can't have sex with a friend. That actually really weirds me out. Like, if I'm, sometimes I volunteer at this sex club, not now, obviously, but when we're not in lockdown. and I'll see friends there, and like their penises will just be like hanging out, or like boobs or whatever. It's not true. I really like boobs, but like if they're like vulvas are hanging out, and I'm like, whoa, boundaries, we're friends, or like you attend the show. This is just, I don't want to see you like that. It's a different energy. I have to be really romantically interested in you before I engage in a sexual activity with you. And I know lots of people aren't, and it sounds like that's what you're saying, Catalina, is that like that's something that you have coming from maybe your mom's influence. But I don't even know.
Yeah, that's half and half though.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to say, like, is that influence? Is that where that came from? Or like, is that just your constitution? Were you just born that way? I feel like that's my constitution.
You're saying Vico could speak to this?
I don't know. The reason I said Vico might speak to this, and I could be absolutely wrong in interpreting this very wrong, but I just heard Vico in your story say a lot about like BDSM and being because you were in relationships that sounded like more romantically attached, that then you were just like, I want to be romantically detached. We can be friends, but we can still fuck, and I still care about you, but it's different.
Yeah, like the majority of my friends and I have fucked, and
Right.
I am not dating any of my friends, and
Yeah.
I have no interest in dating any of them. I love them to pieces.
Yeah.
They definitely, like 100%, like we would go out with them like for lunch or coffee or hikes or whatever, but like that was friendship, and then fucking was fucking. There was
Right.
no correlation to one or the other, and I got way better at that post, understanding the balance between each, like very much like when we're hanging out, and when we're fucking, and we're not gonna do like a cute hike date and then go fuck. It's like we're hiking and we're getting to know each other as friends, and then when you want to fuck, we'll fuck, but like there is no correlation between one or the other.
Right.
If things get muddy and things start like kind of like develop in a way, then we'll address it. But I was very much like, I'm your friend first and hook up second. If this gets complicated, I'd much rather be your friend. And then we'll, whether there was time in between. I texted my mom about this, and she was like, well, what if you catch? And I was like, my heart is completely frozen at the moment, so I am aware of that potential of maybe catching feelings, but I cannot right now. But if I do, then I will address it, and I'll be like, hey, actually, this whole friendship hooking up thing is not working for me right now. Like, I am catching feelings. If you are in the same boat as me, then let's see where this goes. If not, then we'll remove the other part, and then we can like maybe have a little bit of time to breathe, and then carry on with friendship. But yes, I know how I see how like the romantic, needing the romance on something can be, but for my end, just to have the fucking, the romance got really muddy. To have those like, I needed to have that like very distinct like one or the other, because the staying over for breakfast or like going for dinner and then like coming over for sex, like it was too romantic, and I needed to be like very like, when we're having dinner, and that's great. But we're not gonna take this as, it's just like we're having dinner, and then if you want to fuck, then we'll fuck. But it was very just like one or the other, and that worked for me.
Yeah.
Now I'm in quarantine, so I'm stuck here. So.
Yeah. Which is why this is so cool, like to hear just like these different perspectives, and to know, because that's something that like, I really appreciate that about your story, Vico, because that's something that's completely out of my wheelhouse. And I love hearing it because I just, when we're in our own heads and in our own stories, we're just like, well, this is how the world works. And then we hear other people's perspectives, and if you're open to hearing that, it's eye-opening, and not that I didn't know that existed, but you put it in a way that I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm a little different than that, but I get it, and it's so relatable, and I just really appreciate it. So, yeah. Eric's been passing me notes this whole time.
I feel like we could continue this conversation forever. This has been amazing, but I know the time is ticking on, and in some time zones it's getting very late. So thank you all for tuning in, and all of you storytellers, thank you so much for working with us and being so vulnerable to share your stories. This has really been an incredible night. I'm getting choked up. So thank you all, and we'll see you all next time.
Cheers.